Hiba Schahbaz. I'm an artist. I hope everyone is feeling healthy and being safe, and as we're all quarantined in our homes, well, a lot of us, those of us who have jobs which don't require us to go to work, I thought maybe I would share something creative for that you can do in your home using like very few materials. I love watercolor, and I personally paint a lot with tea. This is like an example of a tea painting. It's a miniature painting. It's not what we're going to do today, but I just wanted you to, like have an example of my work. And today I thought we could work with some tea, because a lot of us have like tea or coffee or turmeric or some kind of a food item at home which makes really great paint. So I have some black tea in this cup, and just like a couple of tea bags and water, and I have some regular water in this Superman glass, and along with that I have permanent magenta watercolor paint. I have a shell which is I'm just using for mixing and putting paint. You could use anything watercolor. If you are using watercolors or ink, you could use a bottle cap or a glass or whatever you like. And just with me here right now, I have these 3 brushes. So this is one of my sketch pads, and I'm sure like at home you have some kind of paper surface or cardboard surface. Well, cardboard won't really show the tea, but some kind of like light paper surface that you can use. It doesn't have to be watercolor paper. It could be like the back of an envelope, or it could be like one of those shipping sacks. I don't know. So shipping sacks. Okay, so we could paint anything today. I thought maybe I could demonstrate a little bit of tea painting using this plant, and you could use any house plant, or you could do like an interior of your home. That's gonna take too long for a demonstration, so I'm not gonna do that today. So to start with, I'm just gonna use the water and the tea. I'll just make sure you can see what I'm doing, and just like start kind of a drawing of this round bowl. So this is how the tea stains. Over here it's pretty diluted with water. If you want the tea to be darker, you can boil it and then strain it, or you can boil the tea bags and then like reduce the water a lot and squeeze them out, or you can use a coffee. Coffee has a really nice deep color. You could use red wine, and so I'm just making this plant to show you how we can work with tea. So this is my magenta watercolor, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of it in this shell. And the way I like to paint with tea is, even if I am adding an extra color, I like to mix it with the tea, so it gets like a little bit of like a dullish tint. And these are these really beautiful plant which opens up during the day, and the leaves kind of look like these hearts, which I really love, or these butterflies. So I'm gonna paint those. again, it's always sort of like nice and motivating to paint something if you're working from home and you're not sure what you should be making. You could just paint a family member, you could sit together and do portraits and tea, you could paint your pet. I have a cat, she's hiding. You could paint your apartment or your home, or you could just paint something from your imagination. I think definitely it helps me. It helps me to occasionally like learn a skill or do something I haven't done before, or like use a different part of my mind. Usually for me that's math. And that kind of like helps me get out of my own head if I'm kind of in this weird stress mode, or just like I'm going through a tough time generally in life. I like to do something totally different to stimulate that, and that helps me see like all the possibilities that our lives have to offer, even though sometimes it feels like we get so set in our personalities and in our states that those possibilities aren't there, but there are so many possibilities. So this is how far I've gotten with the tea, and this is just one watercolor paint, and I'm gonna take this a little bit further. And try to add, like, this bowl has this weird grainy lines on it that I want to add. This is this really pretty ceramic bowl that I found near the studio in Brooklyn. I really like ceramics. They just feel so good, right? So just adding a little bit of lines into this, and then you can just play a little bit. You could add more tea. You could give a wash. I like to give washes by sliding the paint I'm using down, like tilting the page and just like sliding everything. I really like that. I feel like for a medium like tea or watercolor, it just makes everything super smooth, which is nice. I don't like to be so careful, so I'm gonna go over this again. So the great thing about tea is, as you can see, the more you layer it, the more depth you get. You could also make like different tea consistencies and have like a dark tea and a light tea, or like have some water added in tea. But definitely, like, it makes sense to have one layer dry before you put in the next one, otherwise everything gets like super smudgy. So yeah, so now that I've got that, I'm gonna like just play a little bit with the paint. I want to see what like the paint can do on this super wet surface. I kind of like making a little bit of a mess. It's nice to, with watercolor, it's nice to sometimes just like let go of all that control that we need to have, in our daily lives, and just make something that is I guess less, which doesn't have to be a certain thing. So much about painting is like just kind of following your intuition and letting that speak through your work. So yeah, I'm gonna let this dry for like a few seconds, and then I'm gonna do another layer on it. So this layer is a little dry. It's slightly cool and damp to the touch, so it's not 100% dry, but it's a little bit dry. And if it gets too dry, then every mark you make like stands out a lot, and if it's too wet, then everything kind of blends together and becomes like overly indistinguishable. But when it's like somewhere in the middle, before bone dry, then you can get some really nice marks in it. So I'm gonna try to make a few marks in this this ceramic pot. So I'm gonna make these. There's a little bit of paint on the brush, but I want to make these with some tea. Just vary the intensity, so the lines are not the same everywhere, and you can do that by adding water to your medium, whatever medium you are using. I really like the smell of tea. Growing up, we drank a lot of tea in Pakistan, and I used to sit with my grandfather at the breakfast table. My grandfather used to feed me breakfast. He used to sit in his lap, and he would like dip this super buttery tiny piece of toast in this hot chai, and he would feed it to me, and then he would give me the tea to drink with, like in a teaspoon. So like since I was a baby, I was drinking tea, and then we would like have tea times in the afternoon. When my parents would come home from work, the family would just kind of sit together and have tea. So get together, like you go to someone's house, they serve you tea. So like tea has so much cultural meaning for me. I guess that maybe that's why I use it in my work a lot. So yeah, we're like reaching the end of our demo. You guys are probably have a good handle on how to, make your own tea watercolor painting, and I really appreciate you taking the time to listen along today, and just kind of I think it's really great that we're all coming together as a community and trying to stay at home and curtail our movements, so that the people who are working so hard to help us can do their job. And that's great. Yeah, like if you So if you don't know what to do today, now you have something that you could try. Thank you for listening.